Hey everyone, Erin here. So today's video is all about doing all kinds of projects in the garden. It was a very productive day and I did a whole bunch of different things. Some things that I didn't really intend to do, some things that just needed to get done, but it all started with trying to get the last of the plants in the ground so that I didn't have any more plants sitting around in pots. And in my haste to get going with that, I just forgot to hit record on the whole intro to this video, so that's why you are seeing me jump right into it here. By the way, you're going to see me with my AirPods in. That's because one of my favorite things to do is listen to audiobooks in the garden. I love it. I fly through them like crazy. Right now I'm listening to this one. It's very, very good. Jack Carr, Red Sky Morning. I like Jack Carr's books, especially in summer. I get really into political spy thriller kind of things or courtroom dramas. I'm into all that stuff. In winter, I get more into like, I don't want to say chick lit, but, like beach reads, even though I'm not on the beach. You don't care. Let's go garden. Okay, so the first plants that I was getting in the ground here were some more dahlias, popping those in along the path. Because the soil is a little bit high in this area, I actually had to take the soil out and sort of get it out of there, put it somewhere else in the garden so I could get these dahlias in there without just spilling soil all over my fresh, new, clean path. Then I popped over to another area where I wanted to do some planting. This is over by the garage, but I needed to do a little bit of weeding and a little bit of maintenance in this area. So next thing you know, I'm in there and I'm cutting back the cat's pajamas nepeta, pulling out weeds, pruning back a bunch of other things, just generally cleaning up this area before I could even get in there and plant anything else that needed to get done. The slugs have been crazy lately because we've had so much rain. And here is a big, juicy one that I found just trying to eat one of my dahlias over there, just waiting to eat my plants. And this is where my garden attention deficit kind of came in, but I was really bothered by the sort of ragged edge there. So I grabbed my long-handled Baco pruners, which are perfect for this job, and just quickly clipped this little edge. I use these all the time for cleaning up the grass. Of course, you can do a string trimmer if you like. This is a little easier for me to manage, especially with plants that are planted so close to the edge. And what you see in there, by the way, are some garlic scapes. I've just been besieged by rabbits in this area. So my latest thing, because all other rabbit repellents have been failing, is I've been kind of like smushing garlic scapes and throwing them in the area. Maybe it works, maybe it doesn't, but that is what you were seeing on the ground there. Then there was more Nepeta to take care of. Now this is Junior Walker, I believe, and it's big and it's been flopping for a long time. And you can actually see in the middle of this plant that the center was already putting up a ton of new growth. So it was very easy to see where to cut. I just had to get all those straggly bits out of there. And of course, there's always a few weeds around, and as long as I'm down there, might as well grab those. Then there were a few annuals I just popped in. I have a whole bunch of dahlias and caladiums and other things, gladiolus, planted around the base of the banana here, and I thought we'd just pop in a couple of these annuals as well in that area. It's a bit of a mishmash, but it might be all right. Then I wanted to plant some annuals kind of in this area, which is the back side of the patio garden, but this viburnum had gotten quite big and was overhanging the grass, so it was time for just a really quick prune on bits of it. And it was not my intention to prune the boxwood in this area or any of the boxwoods, but I did because, again, I wanted to work in a couple of annuals in that area behind it. And I figured, well, as long as I was over here, it needed to get done at some point. This was a really quick pruning, not at all what I would normally do, but I don't really need this one to be a tight sphere or anything like that. And in my haste, I did not take the time to put down anything to catch all the clippings, so I just went through there and raked up all those clippings. One of the plants I had left was a really beautiful looking purple bellvine left from the ones that I grew from seed. So I thought I'd try growing it up this trellis. Purple bellvine can handle like a little bit less sun, so I actually put it on the back side of this trellis, across from where all the clematis are kind of on the front side. So we'll see. I've never grown one in the ground before, so this will be an experiment to see how it does in the ground. Then there was this small grouping of petunias, and these really have no business going in this garden where I planted them, but they were the last of the bunch of things to get planted, and honestly, I was just looking for empty holes at this point, and so I popped those guys into the hot border. Okay, I lied. It wasn't the last plant, but I think the last plant was Emerald Falls Dichondra. I had an extra left over from doing some of my containers, so some weeds to get out of there as usual. And actually, there's been this empty hole kind of behind where I have the Surefire begonias and the mini-me watermelon coleus in this part of the circle garden, so I thought, well, that should create a really nice little ground cover, and at least it'll have filled in that hole. Now, I did want to show you sort of how I manage the new water bowl that I have. About once a week, I empty it out, and I don't want to tip it over because I've got it perfectly leveled. So what I do is I scoop it out and I empty out the water, and then I refill it with fresh water. And I will top it off throughout the week as necessary, just to keep good water in there. But I thought I get a lot of questions about how I handle water just sitting in a bowl, so I thought I would just show you what we're doing. So there I'm just trying to get some of the material that was in it that had floated up out of it. Okay, first thing that I put in there, this is new for me this year, is this. This is barley straw extract. It's an organic way to, essentially an organic algicide. I think I need like a teaspoon in there. Next up, this little pouch, which just opened itself, is Bonide mosquito beater. That goes in. It will dissolve. And yes, it's BT. All that is BT, so that will kill mosquito larvae. And all of those little things will sink or dissolve or something. But within, I don't know, an hour or so, they're gone. And last in this little mix here is this. This is black pound dye. You need literally 1 drop for this. This treats 1 acre 4 to 6 feet deep. So clearly this will last me forever. Non-toxic, fine for fish and wildlife and all that stuff. That's way too much. What I just put in there is way, way, way too much. And I don't like it when it's like that black. So I can dilute that a little bit, but I probably will just let the mosquito beater do its job in there. And let's give that a little bit of a stir. All right. Okay. Like I said, in no time, that mosquito beater, we won't see that in there. And I honestly don't know if it dissolves or if it sinks or what it does, but also, so you can see it on the surface there. Also, with this much rain this year, the mosquitoes are so bad already. It's hysterical that I'm like gonna keep mosquitoes from breeding in there as though that'll make a difference. But you never know. They say like 1 little bit of water can, I don't know, like a bajillion mosquitoes can breed in it, so maybe it'll help. Then I had some Carex Montana. I've gotten some Carex Montana plugs, and I just worked those in. There is some other Carex Montana in this area, and I don't actually remember where I even intended on putting these, but I do love that Carex, and so I was kind of focusing them in an area where I already have some. It's so easy to plant those too, those nice little plugs. Then I was walking by this banana and I looked at it and I thought that those ragged leaves were really starting to bother me. And the plants, the rest of the plants in that container have grown up enough that I thought we wouldn't miss those lower leaves anymore. So might as well give them some more light. So just a little bit of banana pruning. All right, here's where we're left with plants. By the way, I just cleaned this off. Felt so good. I have one comfrey that I made from a root cutting for somebody, and they only ended up wanting 1 plant, so I have 1 left. I will plant that. I just want to think very carefully about where it goes, because when you plant comfrey, it's pretty much there forever. That hydrangea and the rose that we talked about, 2 very sad looking cypress vines that I'm going to take down to the office, strawberry plants, and 2 portulacas that I think a neighbor is coming, and then we're done with everything else. In fact, I think just to satisfy myself, I'm going to clean off all this stuff and clean these steps before we go to the next project. Then it was time to cut back the chive hedge. I cut the chive hedge back 2 to 3 times a year. It comes back very quickly. Every time it's starting to look a little straggly and unkempt, that's when I give it a cut back. And there's nothing to this. It's very simple. It's just making your way around, cutting all the stuff down. All right, as you can see, this is a rather drastic difference through here. But I assure you it will look great very soon. I'm going to come in here and blow off the paths and neaten up a little bit. But before I do that, oh, by the way, that's pretty much all chives in there. So it makes great compost. I'll tell you that. Here's what I'm going to do first, though. This is a completely unnecessary step. No, it's not unnecessary. I do think it helps. Otherwise, I wouldn't do it. But I do go around and put some insect frass fertilizer around the chives. Just sprinkle it around. And that'll give everything a water, although it'll probably rain. But if it's not going to rain by the end of the day, I will go around and give everything, all the chives, a really good water. And then they will come back like gangbusters. We're getting frizzy now. So that job is a bit of a backbreaker, and I think I could do it with a string trimmer, but I do like the opportunity to go in there and weed as I go around. It's, grass gets in there and all sorts of little weeds kind of hide in there. So it's a really good opportunity to clean everything up. So I find it very satisfying to do that. I do think a string trimmer would take them out, or a hedge trimmer. Actually, I don't think that the chopping part is really the difficult part. It's the picking up part. That's probably harder. Anyway, it does take a long time. I bet you that took me an hour to do that, maybe. Longer than you would think, but there's more chives than you would think there too. Anyway, good to have that job done. Okay, this is a job I've been putting off. I have to deal with the Kinsley's Ghost honeysuckle. So I grow this as a shrub. I basically twine it up upon itself and try to give it some kind of form, which you can see is really necessary, because what we have going on here right now with it behind the tiny tough stuffs, we've just created a solid wall in the garden. This is not attractive. So there'll probably be a lot of pruning that goes into this, as well as some training. I'm going to attack it from the back because I can't really even get to it from the front. And I think it'll come together well. It has in the past. I was actually having a hard time sort of wrapping this around the structure that I have created in the past. It wasn't quite long enough in some areas to do that, so I actually did mostly pruning on this. And I think you can see that the end result is better. There's at least a gap now between the tiny tough stuff hydrangeas and the honeysuckle. Again, I wasn't really planning on pruning boxwoods, but they were there and it had to get done. And these two are kind of front and center, so I did want to get them pruned up just a little bit. I like to go in with a sort of long bladed hand pruner and just kind of get all those areas that I haven't gotten. I'm not a great boxwood pruner, but I also don't need them to be perfect. I just want to keep them in some sort of shape. The boxwood in the front, the little one, is a green gem, and the one in the back is green velvet. Okay, well, it's not my best pruning job ever, but I wasn't really intending on pruning, so it's pretty good for on-the-fly pruning. I suspect we have rain coming. Okay, it's raining. Little rain break. I have to say, I'm thankful. I'm actually super beat right now, so an excuse to go inside and just sit for a second would be great. Hopefully this doesn't last long. It has stopped raining. I did a couple other things. The hair is still plenty frizzy, but I'm back to finish up. stopping in the middle of a project really makes you lose your momentum. But I do want to deal with this border behind me here. Also, I lost my lapel mic somewhere along the line, so now I got to hold this thing. The goal here, get the sanguisorba tied up. It's not attractive, but it's better than it flopping all over, so we got one done. I'll do this one. I'm going to cut back the Nepeta. I believe this is early. It's not early bird. I can never remember the name of it. It's cat's meow. That's what it is. It's cat's meow. The flowers still look nice on it, but like this is like a now or never thing. And I might cut back this lady's mantle, even though it's looking so nice. But again, like if it's going to happen, this is the time to do it. Then there's a few little weeds in here, or maybe big. I don't know. We might. I'll try to grab those. Basically, just clean up this little front edge of this border a little bit. I think you can see that just trying to tie the stems of the sanguisorba together did not work, so I did end up having to go grab a bamboo stake to sort of loop the twine around and hold it more or less upright. Some of these Nepeta were also showing new foliage in the middle, so it was pretty easy to see where to cut. But even if you don't see that, you can just lop a Nepeta straight off. Well, that escalated quickly. What a mess. Oh my gosh. I didn't really intend to do that, but it became kind of clear that it was necessary. So I don't usually cut my lady's mantle back all the way. I usually just cut the flowers off. But when you get in there, you can see there is new foliage already starting at the crown of most of these. So I did kind of cut it back to sticks because I tried not to cut off that new foliage. It is truly a mess, and I don't really feel like doing a neater job on this, to be honest, because I'm just kind of out of steam. I don't think it'll matter. I think it will reflush quickly. And the thing with Lady's Mantle is that, you know, it can look pretty tattered later in the season. And because this border depends, it's basically mostly just Lady's Mantle. Because it depends so much on this Lady's Mantle, I thought, let's just make the whole thing look terrible for a brief period of time, and then we can, you know, and then it'll look fine later. So hopefully this is probably a couple of ugly weeks that we're going to have here. And some I didn't cut back at all. Like this is a fairly, like that one's still looking pretty good. So I didn't cut that one back at all. I didn't get some of these down here, although I probably should. So, yeah, that's drastic. So I think this is the after picture. Oh my gosh, what a mess. So now we got to pick this all up, get this out of here. I will say this, I feel very good about what got accomplished today, even with the break. I don't think I did the neatest job on any of the things I did, and I don't think that matters, to be honest. I think everything will just kind of come back to life just fine. Like I said, a few things are going to look shabby for a while, like the chive hedge and this, but overall, I think we made a big dent in a fair amount of projects. And we're just going to avert our eyes from this portion of the garden for a couple of weeks, and then it'll be all good. Thank you for coming along today on this very messy, very grungy, very productive gardening day. I hope you're having a great day in your garden, and we'll see you soon. Thank you for watching. Bye.